Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told out of voice of radio. So today we've got some big new cards we need to be talking about from Cyber Judge and Wild Force. We are talking about a new EX, we are talking about a new Spec card, and we've got a couple others I want to show you while we're here because they're kind of amusing or kind of awesome. So let's start off with the new EX. We've got ourselves Torterra EX, and the usual deal here, I have done the translations myself, and then checked with a lovely Anton Boulet to make sure I've not done anything stupid. So what we've got here on Torterra EX is 340 HP, which, not for nothing, is the highest HP we've seen on any Pokemon so far. That's the maximum we've seen. And we've got a really nice attack for a single grass energy that does 30 damage for each of your grass Pokemon in play. So in theory, you get 6 grass Pokemon in play, and you deal 180 damage for a single energy. And make no mistake about it, 180 damage for a single energy is clearly ridiculous. It's clearly absolutely awesomely ridiculous, and I love this, and I'm a gigantic fan. Alright? No argument there. But it does feel a little bit like, why are you making me work so hard? Because seriously, right? I'm going to get all the way up to a stage 2. I'm going to get 6 grass Pokemon in play, bearing in mind a lot of the time I'm going to want to play support Pokemon, some Pokemon that draw cards here and there, and it just feels a bit like, what's the point? This just feels like it's going to be a little bit too awkward, and then when I get it rolling, what's my prize? Oh, 180 damage, which I'm sorry, I don't think is good enough. Sorry about that. Then if we add a bunch more in terms of energy, free energy, 150, and you heal 50 from this Pokemon. It's alright. It's fine. Is anyone out there arguing this is good? Because I'm looking at these attacks and I'm just like, I don't think these are terrible. But I do look at this and I'm just like, I'm not doing enough damage to justify getting this stage 2 in play and getting all these grass Pokemon in play or whatever. And then actually I turn around at the end and I'm like, oh, that's it, I'm done. I'm not seeing any reason to play this. I'm giving this between 2 and 3 Wassies, which is honestly much lower than I generally give this kind of stuff. But I'm just not seeing any reason to be particularly excited about this. Although, as a side note, the new Turtwig is done by Okacheke. It is absolutely stunning. And it's got a decent ability that takes 20 less from attacks. I'm not saying we should all play it for that. I'm saying if we get a better Torterra in the future, this is kind of cool. And I absolutely adore the Okacheke artwork. So, you know, it's pretty cool in that regard. But that is like the best thing I can say about this. I think if we look at the new Torterra, it's pretty terrible. But if we look at the new Turtwig, interesting little ability. And it's got phenomenal artwork. Worth pointing out that we still do have the Torterra from Brilliant Stars we can use, which does 50 damage for each of your evolution Pokemon in play. And frankly, I think that's probably better. Sorry. But hey, I did promise you a new A-Spec as well as a new EX, and I do intend on fulfilling that promise. I told you I'm going to show you a new A-Spec, so I'm going to show you a new A-Spec. What we've got here is, it's another belt. We have a lot of belts in the Pokemon TCG, apparently. We've got Maximum Belt. It's an A-Spec card, and basically it's a tool that lets you deal 50 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon EX. That's what it does. You're like, oh, there's an EX over there. Let's do 50 more damage to it. And look, first thing to point out, like I've said on a bunch of these recently, if you compare this to other similar tools, this is ridiculous. Like, you can see why this is an A-Spec. Because if you compare this to similar Pokemon tools that add damage, this is clearly a significantly better card than other Pokemon tools we've had lately that do extra damage. In that regard, it's really, really nice. Future Booster Energy Capsule only does an extra 20 damage. Now, it obviously also gives you free retreat, but then by the same token, It's also only for future cards, so it's not great in that regard. Like, Choice Bout does 30 more damage to active Pokemon V. This is 50. And, 50 is a lot better than 30. So we can look at similar kind of tools and go, this is inarguably better. But then by the same token, is this really good enough to be an A-Spec? And I'm sorry to say that is not an easily answered question. Essentially, the question of, is this going to be an A-Spec that you want to play, is going to come down a lot to your specific deck and your specific matchups. Because if you've got a deck that is consistently 30, 40, 50 damage away from getting KOs in key matchups, this could be the tool that turns those matchups from terrible into okay. And then all of a sudden, this is actually genuinely worth being played. And this is going to make a big difference. For an awful lot of people, they are just going to go back to Prime Catcher. An awful lot of people here are just going to go, yeah, Prime Catcher's item-based gusting. Remember, it's an A-Spec. You can only have one A-Spec of any description in your deck. So an awful lot of people are going to look at this and be like, mate, I'm just playing Prime Catcher. Or they're an ancient deck that are going to play that drum that lets them draw one card for each of their ancient Pokemon. Or they're playing a future deck then they've got the A-Spec that lets them attach an energy from their discard to each of their future Pokemon. I'm not saying this is terrible, and I'm not saying it's going to see no play, because there absolutely are a bunch of decks out there that are going to want to use this here and there. But are they going to want to use it enough? And the answer is, I am honestly not sure. You have been warned. Now, those are the big new cards in terms of a new EX and a new A-Spec, but I do want to try out a couple more cards that we've had revealed today, including a new Drilbur. I love Drilbur. I mean, I think the artwork is lovely, but again, you have to know I am hideously biased here. I am a huge Drilbur fanboy. But it's actually got a really, really nice ability, and it's just when you play it from your hand onto your bench, search your deck for 3 basic fire energy and discard them. That's what it does. It gets energy in the discard pile. And you know what? It's brilliant. It's going to be the kind of niche card that sees a bunch of use because there's random Pokemon that do damage for energy in a discard and all of that. Basculegion, incidentally, if you want an example of that. Of course, Basculegion we've had for a while now at this stage. It's the one that came around in Lost Origin, but it does 20 damage for each basic energy in your discard pile. So an attack like that is clearly going to, well, they're going to like this. But I'm thinking Professor Sada's Vitality. And I really like this with Professor Sada's Vitality. Because obviously that to support a card lets you attach 2 energy, 1 to each of 2 ancient Pokemon, and then draw 3 cards as long as you attach any energy with the supporter card. It's great, but one of the biggest issues with Professor Sada's Vitality is getting the energy in the discard, especially turn 1, because a lot of the time what you want to do is you want to use Professor Sada's Vitality to accelerate energy turn 1 going second and get some decent attacks off. And if you want an example of when you might be doing that, the new Koraidon I showed you last week, and I want it on the record that I told you that new Koraidon was awesome, and I was very hyped about that new Koraidon. It's the one that does 30 damage for each of your ancient Pokemon in play, so potentially like turn 1 going second. I mean, in theory, you could do 180. In reality, you're going to be doing like probably 120. You're going to have like 4 out, because you need some bench space to support Pokemon. Although you could extend up to 180, let's be clear. But the point is, this is a card which is going to be really fun for early game pressure. One of the big things you need to do is accelerate energy to it, and not only can it take colorless energy, it actually takes fighting energy. So yeah, this is kind of ridiculous. For decks like that, and I've told you I'm going to be playing this ancient deck, Drilbur is legitimately brilliant. And is actually going to see play. Like, I saw this, and my immediate thought is, there is absolutely no way I'm not playing Drilbur in my ancient deck, because, oh my word, that Drilbur is going to be awesome in my ancient deck. For what it's worth, there is a new Excadrill, but the fact that I've waited this long to tell you about it should not really give you much excitement here. Single energy 20, free energy 180, 50 to itself. You're genuinely not going to be playing the Excadrill here. This is all about the Drilbur. And there's one more I want to point out because it's a little bit dumb. We've got a new Pidove in the set. It's got an ability that says once during your turn, if this Pokemon has 30 HP or less remaining, you may search your deck for an Unpheasant, including Unpheasant EX, and put it onto this Pokemon to evolve it. Now, in terms of being able to get this down to 30 HP and evolve it, you need to do 20 damage because it's got 50, and we've actually got 2 stadiums that will do it. We've got Gapejaw Bog that we got an Astral Radiance that will just put 2 damage on when you bench it, or Calamitous Snowy Mountain from Paldea Evolved that when you attach an energy to it will put 2 damage on it. The reason I'm pointing this out is because it specifically mentions you can search for an Unpheasant EX, and there is no Unpheasant EX. There's not been one released so far, and some of you are going to look at this and go, oh, wait a second, there's going to be one in the set. No, there is not going to be one in the set. There is actually a regular Unpheasant in the set. 2 energy, 70, put 2 energy from your opponent's active back into their hand. It's terrible. Or free energy 180, this Pokemon can't attack during your next turn. It's a bad stage 2. We've also got the Unpheasant from Pokemon Go. That's 2 energy, flip 4 coins, 70 for each heads. Also pretty terrible. So no one's actually going to play this. But it's got a really fun, interesting ability because you're evolving from a Pidove right up to an Unpheasant for free. And honestly, right, this is not a difficult ability to get rolling. But also, and I can't stress this enough, there is no Unpheasant EX. For anyone that's wondering, this is just a blatant example of future-proofing. This doesn't actually even tell us there is going to be an Unpheasant EX in the future. This just tells us they are preparing for the possibility of an Unpheasant EX in the future. Don't be surprised if we actually never get one. That genuinely could be a thing, that we never actually get one, and they put it in there just in case, and then never actually give us an Unpheasant EX. That would be a bit unpleasant. But at the end of the day, you know what? Never mind. It'll be fine. So yeah, that's what you need to know. Genuinely, I think the card I've shown you in this video that is the most metagame relevant is the Drilbur, and that genuinely makes my heart soar. For now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you think about all of these cards, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. And get shoutouts on the channel like the lovely Chelsea Rose, who's been a supporter of ours for a while now and seems to be a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.